Welcome everybody to this demonstration of the qualification portal and how you as an applicant will fill out the QAD, the Qualification Assessment Document, within the qualification portal. Upon qualification planning meeting being complete, you will receive an email that looks similar to this with the credentials for you to log in to the qualification platform. As you can see here, I've had to redact the user ID and the password just so we don't share that with the entire industry. You will also receive an email that shows that your application has been created. In this instance, we've created an application for the test purposes under the name of Sample Energy Limited ABC. When you first log into the qualification portal, you'll see this tile which enables you to access any applications that you have available to you for the QAD. When you click this tile, you'll see on the left hand side there is a menu that shows your dashboard and your task manager. At the bottom of the screen, you'll also see your application. It will show the name, the role, current application status and any MPIDs. It will show the creation date, and you'll also see the percentage of your application that's been complete, the sections that are pending, and qualification type. At the top here, you can also see it explains what the different types of application statuses mean, such as in progress, under review, on hold, etc. If you unfold the row using this chevron on the left hand side, you can see here each individual section. So in this instance, section 1 through 7, their current status, which type of QAD it is, whether it's your preliminary QAD or your final QAD, any applicable reviewer statuses, the total number of mandatory questions and questions that have been answered, and then the percentage that's been completed so far. This is a quick and easy way to access specific individual sections should you want to, or by using this button, the Go to Application button, you can access the application as a whole. In this instance, we'll access the application using this button. When you enter this screen, you'll notice at the top there are buttons for you to access each individual section again, so you still have a quick and easy shortcut should you want to jump to a specific section. You'll also notice on the right hand side here there is a legend which shows what each icon means for individual responses. So whether there's comments, whether the responses are locked, whether you've submitted a final or a partial response. Here as well you will see the section status currently showing as in progress. As you scroll down, you can see the number of questions associated with each section. Please note here that where there is a red asterisk, that denotes that the question is mandatory and their response must be completed before you are able to submit this section. In order to submit sections, you can unfold the row by clicking the chevron on the left hand side, and this will take you into the response section. Here you have a response box, and you also have a file attachment box where you can either drag and drop files from your computer into this box, or you can click the box to select files from your computer. Finally here, you must select whether it's a partial or a final response. Partial responses will have a quicker review time because we would expect there is not as much detail included in that response. However, final responses, we would expect them to be complete and no further changes would be made. The I button does give a description of what each response type is, but generally a partial response will mean that you will need to revisit it at some point, for example once testing has been completed. Final response means that you have all the information included in your response and there would be no need to revisit. Once your response has been completed, you can click Save, and that will save all the responses for you and will mean that they're ready to, when you're ready to submit, all the responses are saved. Please ensure that all responses are saved prior to leaving the page, as anything that hasn't been saved cannot be recovered. In this instance, there are 4 questions within this section for this test that we've created, and we've made one of those questions mandatory. We'll go into the response and we'll type in, this is a test response, and we'll save. You can see here in this instance that we've now moved to a partial response. That means that we would expect to come back and update this later down the line. But for the instances of testing, you can see here that we haven't clicked it as a final response. We've clicked it as a partial response. Now that the mandatory question has been submitted, we can go down and we can click the Submit button to submit that section. Once submitted, you can see here that you get a green tick to show that your submission has been received, and your section status now has changed to under review. Once you go back to your dashboard, you're now able to see that although your overall application status is still in progress, by unfolding the row, you can now see that section 1 status has moved to under review, and the reviewer status is pending reviewer QSP analyst and pending reviewer rec analyst. Because this is an LDSO role type, both code bodies are involved in the review. In instances where there was just one code body, you would see that there is no reviewer 2 status required. So for example, with an SDS application, you would only have a QSP review, and with a MEM application, you would only get a rec review. So while this is off for the code bodies to review, you can see here that the total mandatory questions was 1 and the answered questions is 1. So your saved responses is at 100%. Whilst they're reviewing, you are able to go into each section and follow the same process to submit them as you did with section 1. By refreshing the dashboard, you are now able to see that the application status has changed to address reviewer comments. You can also see in the task manager that the application shows a section incomplete, the section response pending. By expanding the chevron again and unfolding the row, you can see here that section 1 is at address reviewer comments, and you can see that reviewer 1 status, the QSP analyst, has rejected your response, whereas the reviewer 2 status, the rec analyst, has approved your response. Here you can click respond, or by going back into the dashboard, you can click on the hyperlink that says address reviewer comments. You will also receive an email notification of the change in your application status. So we expand the row and we go into respond, and we can see here the review comments icon is in the review comments. So if we open up the row and unfold it again, we can see here that the QSP review comment is, please give further detail on how you will address your work-off plans. So this takes us back to the start of the workflow again. We can go into the response now and we can update it. So So I've noted here there's now an improved response with a work-off plan attached as evidence. It's still a partial response, so I will save. And then I can submit this again and it'll go back in for another review. Before submitting, one of the things I do want to show you is that if you're interested, there is a change log for each response, which you can go in to see all the changes that have been made. So you can see here that my first response was, this is a test response. And then a bit further down the line, I've gone back in and put, this is now an improved response. This is an audit trail for you to show how the quad has developed over time with your responses. So we'll now submit this again. And as that refreshes, we get the same response. Thank you, your submission has been received. And we go back into under review, which means we go back to the start of that workflow. It will go back to the QSP and back to the REC for their review. We can go into the application dashboard and we can see again that by unfolding the row, we're back under review. Total questions have been answered that are mandatory. We're back at 100% again. So this is now sitting with the co-bodies for review. Once the co-bodies have had their opportunity to do their review, we can refresh the dashboard again. We can unfold the row again. And we can see here the section status has now changed to complete. The reviewer status for reviewer 1, the QSP, is approved, and the reviewer status for reviewer 2, the REC, is also approved. You're at 100% for saved responses. And the thing that is also changed here is your completed sections is now moved as well to 16% complete because this has now been approved. You can also see that the section progress, out of 6 sections, 5 are in progress because section 1 is now complete. This is the approach that you'd follow for each section, and the approach doesn't differ once you get to the final quad, once your testing has been completed. Just the only change will be that all questions are mandatory and all responses must be final by that stage. So this was a walkthrough to show you how to complete the questions in the quad using the qualification platform, and I hope that you found it useful. If you do need further support, there is a mailbox, which is MHHS support@kpmgsofy.com. And if you do need a reminder of that email address at any time, if you click into your task manager, you can see it's just there. Thank you for your time.